It's time for the Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beam Weeks, author and producer for Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome to the first official Voice of Indie podcast live stream video. I am your host, Beam Weeks, and with me is my co-host, Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight?
I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm going with Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Tarkus tonight.
Fantastic.
What I will be wearing in the coming weeks, but I promise you it will be something. It will always.
I went with plain black tonight. Almost grabbed an Anthrax shirt and went with plain black. I'll be switching my shirts as well during the coming episodes. We have Robert McKenzie in the waiting room. He will be joining us here shortly. But so, yeah, we're trying something different. We had the podcast on Blog Talk Radio for 4+ years. And the last year of our relationship with Blog Talk Radio, they kind of crapped the bed, so to speak. Just fell apart, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with. I think so too. Everybody knows this guy. He's been on the show quite a few times. He's the author of the Chair series, Robert McKenzie, down there in Houston. How you doing tonight, Robert?
Hey, Robert.
Great. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and all that good stuff.
A good year for you last year, Robert? What was the best?
Hurricanes, snow, all kind of disastrous weather and catastrophic.
And you're in South Texas?
That's who we are. We embrace
South Texas? Are you in South Texas, Houston area?
Southeast.
Houston area?
Southeast.
Yeah. Yeah, you had a little wind this
Southeast.
year. Or last year, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was freezing the other night, so they're shutting
All right, so Robert,
down.
Are you a subscriber to the Fresh Ink Group newsletter? I
believe I am. I remember getting an email.
So,
if I'm not, I damn sure better be.
Yeah. So these are the first. Oh, hey, John Davidson. All right.
John Davidson, Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah, same to you, John. Yeah, definitely.
We got one right here, Robert McKenzie.
Yeah.
Released the 5th volume of The Chair. So talk a little bit about that. And by the way, I will be updating your book trailer as well. So keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Maybe by next week's show. Who knows?
Maybe by next week's show.
So
tell us about what's going on with the Chair Volume 5. Where are we at? Where is The Chair at?
That's it. It's the 5th and final.
Are we sure it's the final?
And
positive.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I'm done.
No chance for The Chair coming out of retirement.
Well,
Getting lured back into the
I
game.
can write something else. I got some
The
other
Ottoman.
ideas, but I don't.
The Ottoman one.
No Ottoman. You just can only do so much with the history of the world and American history. But it's a fictional, historic fiction about a chair, and it's 23 generations of American women. And it's a generational heirloom, the chair. And it's a pine chair from High Point, North Carolina, and down through the centuries of American history from the 1600s till probably 100 years in the future, that I kind of nailed down what the future calls for. You've got these mothers and daughters who pass this down through each generation. And the chair witnesses many great events, many small, mundane, boring happenings, but in parallel are all these historic events regarding music, medicine, wars, sports, relationships, and some of these are real events, some of them are not. Some of those that are not, you're going to think are real, hopefully, and some of those that are, you're not going to believe that they happen. So there's a lot of vague but gettable references. And if you can take a look and read the entire 3,000 pages of the 5 books without skipping pages, because I call people out for that at numerous times in the Chair pentalogy, I think you'll find that from A to Z, the story that I created, the ending that I'd hoped for, came through. Now, how we got there, how I got there, it was a stream of unconsciousness, a tsunami of unconsciousness. And as you sit there and write and think of and things that you know and things that you hope and dream about, I put a lot of that together, and I really let the hand take over from the brain, and that's how it went. So the chair is a history of America. It's also the history of the world, and to some extent, the history of the universe, all elements combined. Now, Mintaka, Al-Nalam, and Al-Natak, people got to look that up, but there's a reason for that, and that's a lot of the plot in volume 5. And you guys can give it away what it is, but I'm not going to tell people. So it's very important. Those 3 things are.
All right.
So you got you count Kathy Ireland as a fan, which is very cool.
Is she on tonight? I don't know.
Kathy, are you out there?
She doesn't take my call.
You're out there. Tweet in.
I remember that she took a red-eye flight. Was it from like LA to New York? And she read your book on the flight, and she tweeted about it, and she shared a picture of it. And
she took a flight from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., and I'll give you the exact time it was, because she was going to the funeral of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And all her tweets around that time show she's in Washington at this event. So she seemed to like the first part of it. Maybe she just read the first chapter. The first chapter of volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory, is called John. And John is a World War I captain, and he's got his own history. Some of it's real, some of it is you take it as it comes. And she really liked the depiction of him in that era.
Okay, can you see the question there on the screen from Pat Oliverio? Are you contemplating another book not in the chair universe?
Yes, I am, because I contemplate things often.
Okay.
Whether it be a book.
You think it'll happen?
Broadway play. I might write a symphony.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, right.
Depends on if I can get up the courage and something like that too. Writing books are hard, folks. It's not just I'm gonna put something together. And before I continue, I want to thank Gary and Beam for publishing the Chair series, because I'm sure they had to put up with a lot of me around the whole thing, from not knowing how this thing worked at all. To hopefully, as each volume continued, I was able to perhaps do a little bit better with the submittals. I think I had like 500 errors in the first book. And
that's nothing.
I don't think there were too many in number 5, but once you learn.
All right. So, Robert, can you see your screen there? We got a question. Are you able to read that from Gary Beatty?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, which edition of the Chair did Robert have the most fun writing?
Well, of course, that's a great question. I love them all, but
They're like children.
Would say, I'll tell you honestly, number 5, Mintaka, Al-Nalam, and Al-Natak, because I tied it all together as far as I saw it, and I hope the reader stayed long enough through 1 through 4 to not burn it on the fireplace. But the idea was that this was going to be a very long journey, and if you take on something like this, you need to put something together at the very end. When the reader gets to the end, they understood what they wrote at the begin. What I wrote at the beginning makes sense, and I've done that. So I would say, as far as favorite or the most fun, it was 5, because I thought I had nailed it the way I wanted to nail it, because this was a writer's journey. I had 3 narrators, the Chair in italics, myself, and the writer I created. And the writer I created and the Chair, which I explained at the volume 3, was they had a dynamic tension, which I thought I could prey upon and take it out through 3, 4, and 5 volumes. And I think you'll find that the idea of a chair that thinks it's a person, but it's not, and no one talks to the chair, after some point you'll think, gee, this makes sense as a family heirloom over the centuries.
Cool.
Okay. Now, when you going into this book, did you know this was going to be the final one?
And I kind of wrote 3, 4, and 5 together, and we spread them out over time. for release. But I knew I had to end this thing at some point, but I knew what I wanted to say when I wrote volume 1, and I didn't want to just keep going and belaboring things and flash forward and flash ahead and go into a dream state. In the first volume, I can reveal this now, 200 other pages, because I took it off into a dimension that probably made no sense to any reader. And by the end of those 200 pages, it wasn't making any sense to me. So it was like a plane that was coming in on the carrier and just kept going into the sea. I've still got some of that manuscript. If there's a different story, I've got some plotter to put something else together. But to answer your question, Gary, it's number 5, and I hope you get a chance to read it. I think it's very interesting as to how this thing was put together. Proud that I did this with Fresh Ink Group.
Well, there's another comment here from Becky Knott. The chair must be
lonely.
That's what I bet it's supposed to be. Lonely. Yeah. The chair must be lonely. Is the chair lonely, Robert?
Oh, so lonely.
Yeah, all right. Get 7 syllables and then.
The chair is alone. I mean, it's the idea that nobody talks to it, and we could get into some other aspects of it. But of course, read the book and you'll find out how lonely the chair really is. Because sometimes it's put in an attic, it's put in a basement, it's put in the cellar, it's in the closet, it's in the other room, and it's the extra chair that you bring out at Thanksgiving or Christmas to the and Christmas at their house. There's always somebody extra, or you didn't have enough chairs. And yes, I go into, as an offshoot of this, a card table for the kids, but in some cases I sit the adults at the card table.
All right. The studio guest, Robert McKenzie. Thanks for stopping by tonight, Robert.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us break this thing in.
Yeah. And remember, everybody, the Chair series. There's 5 books in the series. It's a lot of pages, but it's a cool story. And you might hear from Kathy Ireland personally.
Hope and love. Say it again, faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. Say it again, faith, hope, and love.